By 2015, Earth's population had reached 25 billion, depleting the planet's resources. That same year, the probe Paleo 7 discovered the habitable planet Tanis. In response, the Elysium project was launched in 2174, as nations fought over what little remained on Earth. The starship Elysium was sent into space, carrying the last hope of humanity. A final message from Earth echoed through the ship.
You're all that's left of us. Good luck. God bless.
Bauer gasps awake inside a hypersleep pod, panicked and disoriented. He rips off the tubes and restraints and exits the capsule. Checking nearby pods, he finds one labeled Cooper, empty. Another pod holds Lieutenant Payton still asleep. While dressing, Bauer finds a photo of a woman in his locker. He tries to access the bridge, but the door won't open. Using a metal bar, he bangs on Payton's pod to wake him. A sudden power surge releases Payton. Bauer explains their situation. They're on the Elysium, but the rest of the crew is missing. He assumes the computer woke him due to extended hypersleep. Both men struggle to recall the mission details. Bauer remembers training, but not the objective. At the bridge door, he notices tools scattered nearby. Someone tried to open it manually. They reach the communications room and activate the consoles, but no one responds. From a tattoo on his arm, Bauer realizes they're part of Flight Crew 5. Another power surge hits. Payton insists they must reach the bridge. Bauer crawls into a ventilation duct, searching for another entrance. The ship experiences increasingly long surges. Inside, the ducts, tubes, tighten around Bauer, causing claustrophobia. Payton tries to joke to keep him calm. Bauer continues until he slides down a slope. Activating a glow stick, he finds Cooper's decaying body. He frees himself, opens the duct, and drops into a storage room. Using a metal rod, he forces the door but loses radio contact with Payton. Down the corridor, Bauer sees a woman trying to break a door with a metal bar. She runs when she sees him. He chases her and finds someone standing ahead. As he approaches, he says he's part of the flight crew, only to reveal the lifeless body of a man hanging by a wire from the ceiling. Suddenly, a woman, Nadia, bursts from hiding and kicks Bauer in the face. When he rises, she tackles him, pins him down, and presses a knife to his throat. She rummages through his gear and orders him to take off his shoes. But before he can respond, distant screams echo through the corridor. As Bauer tries to move, the hanging corpse is yanked upward, vanishing above. He bolts back to the storage room and hides. Peeking out, he spots a pale, ghost-like creature wielding a glowing spear, scanning for him. Unable to locate its prey, the beast unleashes a bone-chilling scream that summons others. Bauer ducks into a ventilation duct just as Payton contacts him via radio. He quickly silences it, afraid the noise will draw the creatures. One of the hunters suddenly rips open the duct. Bauer stays still as the thing reaches in and pulls out Cooper's body. Once it leaves, Bauer switches the radio back on and informs Payton that monsters are roaming the ship, hunting people. He suggests contacting the bridge, but Payton says no one will respond. They're on a one-way mission. The Elysium wasn't built for data collection or cargo transport. It's carrying 60,000 people to Tanis. Bauer recalls the first time Earth saw Tanis, an Earth-like planet in the stars, and insists his wife must be on board. He can't believe he would have left her behind. He wants to search for her, but Payton says they need control of the ship first. Bauer finds the security room and retrieves a non-lethal anti-riot weapon. He tells Payton to locate a path to the reactor so they can restart it. As they speak, Bauer notices his hand trembling and asks Payton if he remembers the symptoms of Pandorum. Payton recalls how the Eden mission failed after an officer suffered a psychotic break from extended space travel. Believing the flight was cursed, he ejected 5,000 passengers into space. Bauer reaches another corridor and sees a man suspended by wires. As he gets closer, the man suddenly awakens and struggles. Bauer calms him, cuts him loose, and learns his name is Shepard from Crew 6. At first, Shepard assumes Bauer is part of a rescue team, but when he realizes Bauer just woke up too, he ignores protocol and tries to leave. Shepard coats himself in grease to mask his scent from the hunters. Just as he moves, he spots blue torches in the distance. Bauer readies his weapon, But Shepard warns it's useless. They need to run. Moments later, hunters swarm in. Shepard hides but is quickly found and torn apart as Boa watches helplessly. Boa fires at a creature, unaware there's glass between them. The blast alerts the others, who chase him through the corridor. He climbs up and hides among the ceiling tubes. They track him and trap him with a wire until a man appears and cuts him loose. Though they can't understand each other, Bauer sees a tattoo on the stranger's arm. He's part of the agricultural team. Bauer tells him he's looking for the reactor and urges him to stay back. In the communications room, Payton tries to pry open a door with a metal bar when he hears movement in the ducts. Alert! He locks it with a wrench. Meanwhile, Bauer reaches the reactor level and finds himself surrounded by transport containers. Suddenly, Nadia ambushes him. They struggle, and she hurls him out of the container. As she moves in to strike again, the unnamed man intervenes, defending Bauer. During the scuffle between the two, Bauer uses his anti-riot weapon, triggering debris to collapse around them. Taking cover, he urges them to stop fighting and work together. The man offers to guide Bauer to the reactor. They proceed, leaving Nadia behind, until she catches up, insisting they're heading the wrong way. Bauer asks her to lead instead, but she hesitates, saying no one returns alive from that area. When Bauer claims he can pilot and land the ship, she agrees to help. Nadia leads them to a sealed door and tells them to wait. As they stand by, growls echo down the hall. The hunters are near. A power surge shakes the ship just as the beasts arrive. The door opens in time for them to slip through and narrowly escape. Inside, Bauer learns Nadia is part of the genetic collection team, responsible for preserving DNA samples of Earth's flora and fauna. Once, 5 scientists protected the archive, but since waking months ago, she's the last survivor. Over 30% of the samples have already been lost, and if the reactor isn't restored soon, the entire embryo chamber will be destroyed. Back in the communications room, Payton hears noise from the duct and climbs up to investigate. From within a tangle of tubes, a hand suddenly reaches out. A man begs for help. Startled, Payton pulls him free. The man identifies himself as Soldier Gallo, claiming he came from the bridge. Elsewhere, Bauer, Nadia, and the man reach the hypersleep chamber, the primary hunting ground for the humanoid creatures. Bauer inspects the pods and finds most of them empty. He wonders if his wife could be in one, but Nadia explains that families are kept in a different sector of the ship. The man lingers behind, listening for movement. Even when Bauer calls out, he remains motionless. They're forced to leave him behind. While following Nadia, Bauer suddenly crashes through a broken grate. Moments later, Nadia returns, only to fall through the same opening. They land in a bone pit, a dumping ground where the hunters discard their victims. The two begin climbing out cautiously. Just as silence settles, a ghoul spots Bauer and charges. It slams into him, then turns on Nadia. Disoriented, Bauer frees himself from tangled wires and lunges at the creature. It kicks him back hard, but he grabs a pipe and lands a blow. The ghoul counters, knocking Bauer into a capsule. At that moment, the silent man reappears and slashes the monster across the head. Together, the three take turns attacking until Bauer drives the pipe through its chest. Suddenly, a larger creature, the hunter's leader, arrives, pounding the ground to summon others. Some charge after the group, while others descend on the dead ghoul to feast. As they flee, a nearby capsule opens, waking a man inside. The creatures pounce immediately. Bauer turns to help, but the silent man pulls him away. Elsewhere, Payton examines Gallo's tattoo and confirms he's from Flight Crew 4. When pressed for answers, Gallo grows defensive. Payton notices blood on his suit. Gallo admits some is his, the rest from others, claiming his teammates turned on him and he had no choice but to fight back. He insists Payton would have done the same. Later, the trio stumbles into a vast chamber, lost en route to the reactor. There, they meet a man named Leland, who casually offers to cook for them. While Leland prepares food, Bauer quietly asks Nadia if the monsters might have originated from her lab. She believes they were once passengers, mutated by accelerants injected into their bloodstream. The enzyme was meant to help humans adapt once they reached Tanis, but those awakened too early adapted to the ship instead. Back in the comms room, Payton grabs a needle gun, planning to sedate Gallo. But Gallo resists, turning the conversation back on Payton, asking if he's ever seen Pandorum symptoms up close. He explains the syndrome is triggered by extreme psychological trauma. Payton's hand begins to tremble. He tries to hide it. Meanwhile, Leland begins recounting the ship's history using drawings on the walls. At the same time, Gallo confesses to Payton what happened before Bauer woke up. When the Elysium left Earth, 3 officers were assigned to command. Gallo noticed early signs of Pandorum in his superiors. The symptoms of Pandorum grew worse after the crew received a haunting message from Earth.
You're all that's left of us. Good luck. God bless.
Scans showed no remaining signals. Earth was gone. Soon after, Gallo killed the commanding officer and second in command, claiming they'd gone insane. Instead of returning to hypersleep, he stayed awake and began reviving others. He locked many in the cargo hold, forcing them to scavenge and eventually turn to cannibalism. Eventually exhausted from command, Gallo put himself back into hibernation. But in his absence, something far worse was unleashed from the hold. As Leland finishes his tale, white smoke leaks from the walls. Everyone begins to feel dizzy and collapses. Back in the comms room, Payton's condition worsens. Meanwhile, Bauer wakes up, tied upside down beside Nadia and the other man in Leland's chamber. Nadia quickly realizes Leland plans to eat them. She provokes him and he stabs her near the ribs. Bauer pleads with Leland, insisting he can save the ship, but Leland accuses him of lying to survive. Bauer warns that the ship is in its final shutdown phase. They have less than an hour to restart the reactor. Realizing the worsening surges, Leland hesitates, then agrees to help. Bauer contacts Payton and asks for the latest data. Payton confirms, only 47 minutes remain. Bauer urges him to find a safe path to the reactor. On the way, the group encounters a small ghoul. The silent man moves to kill it, but Nadia stops him, pointing out it's just a child. As they argue, the creature escapes into a duct. Moments later, an adult hunter appears, forcing the group to flee. They take shelter inside a chamber containing family hypersleep capsules. Back at the comms room, Gallo tries to sway Payton, arguing that restarting the reactor is pointless. He mocks Bauer, saying the man couldn't even remember his name a day ago, let alone operate a reactor. Meanwhile, Bauer notices all the family capsules are empty. Nadia asks if he expected his wife to be in one of them. Bauer quietly admits she didn't join the mission. She had left him, and he volunteered for the Elysium project after. The realization hits hard. Bauer begins to lose hope, ready to give up. Nadia, however, pushes him to stay focused. They must finish what they started and reach Tanis. Bauer then notices a capsule labeled with Payton's wife's name, and a memory stirs. He says nothing. They finally reach the reactor chamber, only to find it filled with sleeping hunters. As Bauer steps forward, a creature stirs from the noise, but quickly settles back down. He creeps ahead, but the walkway suddenly collapses beneath him. Nadia rushes to pull him up while the silent man holds the bridge steady. Seeing man struggle to hold the collapsing walkway, Bauer decides to descend on his own. He smears himself with mud and drapes rotting skin over his body to mask his scent from the sleeping hunters. Quietly, he steps down among them. Meanwhile, Gallo seizes Payton's needle gun and forces him to open a pod. He demands the ejection code, but Payton traps him inside the capsule instead. Back in the reactor chamber, Leland drops a lantern. Its crash jolts the creatures awake. Man lets the bridge fall on top of them and screams to draw their attention. Amid the chaos, Bauer reaches the console and manages to restart the reactor with less than 4 seconds to spare. The discharge surge kills many of the beasts. Man escapes the chamber but is quickly confronted by the Alpha Hunter. They fight. In the comms room, Payton attempts to unlock the bridge, but Gallo's voice interrupts through the muted capsule. Somehow, the voice still gets through. Man wounds the hunter with a spear, but it continues fighting and sinks its teeth into his stomach. In pain, Man breaks off a part of the creature's armor and stabs it repeatedly until it finally collapses. As he turns, A young ghoul watches him silently. Man hesitates, lowers his knife, then the child lunges, slashing his throat. Elsewhere, Leland sees Bauer and Nadia being chased by ghouls and slams a door behind them. Thankfully, they manage to lock the beasts out. Gallo breaks free from the capsule and tries to inject Payton with the sedative. During the struggle, Payton sees something terrifying, his own tattooed arms beginning to merge. The moment the needle hits his skin, he realizes he's completely alone. Gallo was a hallucination. Leland arrives, claiming he helped Bauer restart the reactor. Payton, now deranged, stabs him in the eye with the needle gun and returns to the console. Nadia and Bauer arrive, narrowly avoiding the monsters. Bauer storms to the bridge and confronts Payton, finally remembering this isn't his lieutenant. Payton confirms he's actually Gallo. When Bauer asks where they are, Gallo opens the window. No stars, just darkness. Bauer begins to show signs of Pandorum as Gallo explains his actions, justifying his sabotage of the mission. Bauer snaps, tackling him and tearing out his teeth. Nadia intervenes, urging him to look again. They finally realize the truth. They're underwater. The ship landed on Tanis long ago. It's been 923 years since the ship left Earth. Payton attacks. Bauer starts hallucinating as the syndrome worsens. Nadia tries to fight him off, but he overpowers her. Bauer fires his anti-riot weapon at a compartment, thinking a ghoul is breaking through. The blast shatters a panel and cracks the observation window. Under pressure, the window bursts. Water floods the bridge. Payton drowns as Nadia and Bauer scramble into an escape capsule. As the water rises, Nadia panics. Bauer urges her to hold on. The capsule launches upward. At the surface, Bauer gives Nadia an oxygen mask and holds his breath. Once outside, he removes the mask and wakes her gently. They are safe. All around, other capsules begin surfacing, triggered by the ship's emergency evacuation. As people slowly awaken, Bauer and Nadia share a smile. They've reached a beautiful new world.